Right, in this video demonstration, we're actually going to go through and approve some updates. Before we do, we're going to go to Windows 7 and actually run some GP update force on that to force Windows 7 and also Core to get the latest GPO configurations that we just went in and made. So let's go in and run a GP update force. And again, that's going to update both the computer configuration policy and the user configuration policy, although we just did a computer configuration policy. Again, what that's going to do is say, hey, Windows 7, get your GPO information as far as like who your WSUS server is, when you're supposed to get your updates, and also that client-side targeting. So that was completed successfully. Let's jump over to our core machine now, and we're going to do the same thing. One thing I was going to show you that's kind of interesting is that you can go in and just validate after running those GP update forces that your Windows 7 machine is getting those GPO settings that you configured earlier, and we can go in there to control panel on Windows 7 and go in the control panel into our Windows update and try to go in there and act as if we are a client making modifications to our Windows update settings. By clicking on changing settings, when it comes up, so we can click on change settings in here, and you'll notice it says, hey, this is all grayed out. It says some settings are managed by your systems administrator, and notice it says here install updates every day automatically, which was what we configured in our GPO, and notice it says 4 a.m. now instead of 3 a.m., which is the default setting, which is kind of cool. And we can also go over to our Server C now, should be able to, in our Windows Server Update Services, and go down to our computer groups that we created, and there's marketing, and there's our core machine showing up. Again, we did client-side targeting, and we also should have Windows 7 show up here in the for client-side targeting for that. So if we just click on all computers, we'll see our core and our 7 machine, and they've been assigned to both the marketing and the test. Notice how nothing is showing up in the unassigned computers group because we have done client-side targeting for both of those, the core marketing and Windows 7 for test. Now they're coming back as not reporting anything because we have not yet went in and did any kind of approval of updates, so they've not actually done any installation of updates at all. But at least we know that our group policies have taken effect, that the client-side targeting did work, and the machines are pointing to Server C, their WSUS server, as we can. All right, the next thing we want to do is go in and take a look at some of our updates. So let's go look at our updates. Expand this out to all updates. Let's say unapproved and any for our filters, so make sure we have these drop-down boxes selected appropriately, and if you do change these drop-down boxes, you got to make sure you hit this refresh button to get the latest and greatest. Now what we want to do is give us the ability, ourselves the ability to sort these updates by their release date. So what we're going to do is we're going to right-click up here on any one of these title bars and select release date, putting a check mark there, and then notice that gives us that new column of release date. So at that point, we're going to click on release date to sort these by the column. So we notice how we have the different years. So here's March 10th, 2009, all the way down to the latest October 9th, 2012. And we can sort that ascending to descending, descending to ascending, just by clicking that top title bar column conversely. So now that'll change to our latest and greatest here. So that's just a nice way if you want to sort by certain criteria, you can just right click up here again and choose one of these if you'd like. So that's just kind of a neat way to do some sorting. All right, the next part is the most difficult and kind of painstaking part for an administrator, and that's going through the initial download of all these updates and sorting out which ones that you're going to need and which ones that you don't want. And what we're going to do, just for demonstration purposes, is go just through a couple of them to show you how to select multiple ones and approve those for the specific groups. So, for example, we want to do the x64 based Windows 7 and apply those to the Windows 7 machine. And just to refresh my memory, our Windows 7 was in the test computer group. So let's go back over here. So what I'll do, for example, is I see this one right here. It says Windows 7 x64, and really everything's jumbled right now because I've sorted everything by the release date. One easy way to make this happen is actually select them by the title. So you can go to the title column and hit that, and that's going to actually sort everything out for you, so you're not, digging and scratching through all these updates to try to find which ones to install. So notice when you see Windows 7 x86, that means the 32-bit, and if you see 64, that means the 64-bit. So just to give you an idea of how to do just a couple of these, if I want to select multiples of these, I might do, for example, Control to, and then click it to select one. I could also click Control again to select another. If I find another 64-bit, see if I find any more of these down here. So here's another one, so I do Control, Control. If I want to get a whole range of different patches or hot fixes, I can just select the top one and then kind of just scroll down. As you see, a lot of these are all 764 based systems going on and on and on to right there, and then I can hit Shift, and then that will get the whole range, which is kind of nice. So just as an example, I will right click on these and say approve, and I just want to approve those for the test computer group because that's where my Windows 7 machine is. It's going to go through the process of doing the approval for those. And again, I want to clarify that I'm not saying that I got all of the updates. I'm just giving you an example of how that's done. Then when it comes to core, again, same thing. I'm going to look around and see if I can find specifically which ones are for core. Just kind of dig through here. And actually, I don't have any, I think, because in my previous lab, I don't think we did a selection for that product. But again, if we did, we would have core updates on here. I think I did go back and maybe change it in an earlier lab, but I don't think I did a manual synchronization again, so that's why we wouldn't have it. But if you had core ones up here, we just select that for our core server as well. For right now, we're just going to do 7. Have those approved. So we have a number of updates that have been approved. Now what I could do is change my filtering to click to approve and then refresh this, and this will show me all the ones that have been approved for my Windows 7 machine. Again, I'm going to go back over here and just show you how to do how to decline updates. So I'm going to do refresh, and let's just say that, let me find one that just out of randomness I want to decline, and we can always go back in and change that, by the way. So I'll just randomly choose this one here, right click on it and say decline. Are you sure you want to decline it? Say yes. So I'm declining that update, and if I want to go back and say, hey, which ones did I actually go through and decline? You just click on this filter to say decline and refresh it, and it'll show you this is the one that we just declined. If you change your mind, you can just right click on it, go back in, and then approve it for whatever group that you want to. So it's not like it's a, oh no, I declined it and everything is now dead. But that's how you make it happen. Again, you'll have to go through, and it's going to take you a little bit longer than I did to sift through these and make it happen. But that's how you go about approving for specific computer groups and also declining as well. So only certain computers get those certain updates that are destined for them versus other machines. That's about it for this portion of the lab.